और कैमरा ऑन करना। Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kritika Sati, and I welcome you all to the third panel discussion of CIFFI, Cineast International Film Festival of India 2020, world's first 7-day hybrid international film festival organized by educational institutes. This festival is organized by Delhi Metropolitan Education Noida in collaboration with Deakin University, Melbourne. CIFFI 2020 is being held by DME Media School, one of the top media schools in the country, in collaboration with prestigious Deakin University, Melbourne, Australia. While DME Media School focuses on the growth of faculty and the students through academic and co-curricular activities, Deakin University imparts award-winning courses with innovative teaching pedagogies. I'm overjoyed to announce that we have received 110 films, 80 hours of screen time in 10 languages across the world and Indian states, reflecting the diverse nature of this international film festival. We are also thankful to our festival partners, Cover Drive Productions, Vigyan Prasar, CMS Vatavaran, Kids Cinema 2020, We Care Film Festival, and Delhi International Film Festival. Our university partner, Adamas University, and institutional partners, Indian Documentary Producers Association, Indian Academy of Shorts, New Delhi Film Foundation, and our media partner, The Pioneer and The Policy Times, for their support in organizing this one-of-a-kind mega hybrid film festival. And our special thanks to celebrated filmmaker, director, and actor, Mr. Tigmanshu Dhulia, our festival ambassador. Before I introduce today's esteemed guests and topic, I would like to invite Dr. Amrish Saxena, Professor and Dean, DME Media School, and Festival Director, CIFFI 2020, to say a few words.
Thanks, Kritika. Thanks, Dr. Martin Potter, to be with us this evening, though it's late evening in Melbourne, we know. But we started, as per the Indian time, we started early in the morning at 9:30. We opened the show, and from that time till this time, it's uninterrupted. This is the third session of the day. So obviously, it's becoming like too ambitious. But then the kind of people who have joined hands in this film festival is really amazing. And just now we had a session on animation, which was being moderated by one of the top persons in animation industry in India, Mr. Ashish Kulkarni, and and three top animation film directors were there in that session, which continued for 3 hours, and with a presence of more than 300 participants throughout. So this proves that the kind of engagement, the kind of participation, the kind of interest which is being taken by the students all across in India, in other parts of the world, and in Australia, obviously, since Deakin is our closest ally, is in creating this kind of festival. And it was with a very active support right from ideation to execution of the festival of Dr. Vikrant Kishore. And it is because of his efforts that so many sessions would have become a reality now. And so I will not take much time because we want to listen to each one of you. And I will request Dr. Vikrant Kishore, if he is there, he's joined the session, to please come over and say a few words. Okay, so he might be joining anytime. He was out, he was traveling.
Okay.
Okay, so we can start forthwith, and as and when Dr. Vikrant Kishore joined, then we would like to listen to him. Over to you, Kritika.
Thank you so much, sir. Any big festival by educational institutes is incomplete without active participation of students. Yesterday, we had an interactive panel discussion with the students of DME Media School, and today we have with us the students of Deakin University for this interactive session. Today's panel discussion is on the topic Fiction Filmmaking During COVID-19 Challenges and Opportunities. As the world crawls toward normalcy amid the pandemic, filmmakers find several challenges and opportunities in telling stories through the medium of fiction films. Before I go ahead, I would like to inform you all that we will be sharing a link in the chat box for some films produced by Deakin University students. I request you all to see these films for your reference. Today we have with us Dr. Martin Potter from School of Communications and Creative Arts, Deakin University, Melbourne, Australia, who will be moderating this interactive session. Dr. Martin Potter is a producer and director of internationally acclaimed participatory media projects, including Big Stories, Small Towns, and White Building Media, an art program in Phnom Penh. He has worked across the Indo-Pacific on media for development programs, and since 2006, he has received more than $7 million in competitive grant funding for this work. He currently researches and lectures in Screen and Design, Deakin University, a board member of Engage Media, associate investigator at Australian Research Council's Centre of Excellence for Biodiversity and Heritage, and a member of Alfred Deakin Institute for Citizenship and Globalization at Deakin University. I welcome you, sir. We are
Thanks for having
also
us.
joined We are also joined by our panelists, students from Deakin University, Mr. Gaden Sousa, Ms. Dani Reef, Mr. Vinod Pereira, Mr. Param Walia, and Ms. Hannah Foster. Gaden is an emerging producer, writer, and director with an interest in storytelling in both feature film and TV. He has directed numerous short films, music videos, and has recently completed his first feature script, Her Name Was Grace. He made his directorial debut at the Melbourne Fringe Festival with Homesick in 2020 and is currently in production of his short film, Friendly Fire. Then we have Dani. Dani has been at helm of some awesome projects, including horror film and a music documentary. Her talent behind the camera is matched by her bubbly personality, which combines to make a director we all wish we could be. Coming from a screen acting background, she understands what both sides of a production is like, cast and crew, which is an invaluable insight to have. Her film Leave was made in lockdown and she is hopeful to produce home movies, her originally planned film. Then we have Vinod Pereira. He is third year film and television student studying at Deakin University. He has completed Certificate 4 in Screen and Media and has completed Diploma of Screen and Media with higher distinction in 2018. During his studies, he has found himself as a short film director, director of photography, editor, and vision mixer. During his Deakin life, he has directed a documentary called Iron Lady of Winter and also directed DOP and edited contemporary art production called Forgotten Me. He has also worked on 4 productions by third year students, and they are On the Precipice as cover, Live Party as grip, Game Show Project, The Elimination Station as EVS operator, and in Love Logs as runner. Then we have Param Walia. Param is a creative, hardworking producer, director, cinematographer, and editor. He enjoys working in a team environment and finds it very rewarding to be able to contribute to team goals and reap the benefits that come from team success. His recent documentary, Sweet Tooth, explores issues around diabetes. In 2020, Param was initially going to produce a surreal horror called Release, but created a prequel of sort to release with his film Phantasm. Then we have Hannah Foster. She is soon to be film and television graduate from Deakin University. She has directed several short films and a broadcast television pilot. She is passionate about horror genre and creating stories that explore identity and complex relationships. Her most recent film, I Heard She Was Crazy, was shot completely virtually during the stage 4 lockdown in Melbourne. I welcome you all to the sessions and I request all the panelists to please keep their cameras on during the session. I would now like to hand over to Dr. Martin Potter to begin the session. Before we start, I would also like to inform everyone that we have film screening ongoing on our CIFFI website. So you guys can visit the website and enjoy the movie in real time. For more updates, please follow us on social media. The handle name is CIFFI Awards at Instagram, CIFFI DME at YouTube, and CIFFI at Facebook. So without any further ado, let us start with this session. Over to you, Martin, sir.
Thanks so much, Kritika. And thank you for having all of us along today as well. Lovely to see you again, Professor Ambrish. I saw Vikrant did come in before. He said that he would be on the road and did send his apologies. As you can imagine, it's been incredibly busy times. Thanks also, Kritika, for the introduction to all of the Deakin students, to Gaiden, to Param, to Vinod, to Hannah, and to Danae. Thanks, guys, for joining us, for joining today, and for offering to share your experience and your knowledge of making films during the lockdown. I might start by giving a little bit of context about how about the environment that these guys were working in. So everybody was doing a third year film production class. It's their final kind of year, the capstone year. And in that year, everybody wants to produce, the best work that they've made across their university career. And it's the film that they're going to take to industry. And hopefully it's going to be a springboard for their creativity as they leave university and enter into working life. It's that calling card to industry. So a lot of people put so much importance, so much value on the work that they are going to make. Students put a lot of pressure on themselves, and it's always a very difficult year, and people work incredibly hard, and this year was going to be no exception. In the first trimester, in the first part of the year, between about February to early March, students were beginning to develop their films and their ideas, and then, of course, COVID restrictions started to come in a lot of different places. We realized that this was a very serious pandemic. It became a global pandemic, and we're all in some stage, in some experience of restriction or lockdown. And in Australia, what happened was we had this first wave that came up around about early March, mid-March, and some social restrictions were put into place. Life went on kind of as normal. And the students also developed their films, hoping that things would get better. We started to think about what would happen if, COVID had continued effects in June, July, August, when the students were meant to be shooting their main films. And so everybody was planning for that. We were trying to be as conservative as possible in those films that were being developed. However, unfortunately, the pandemic continued, and in Australia, most states, except for the state of Victoria, which is where we are, where Melbourne is, most states were kind of clear, and Victoria was not. In July, all of a sudden, we had a second wave, a massive spike of COVID cases, and all of the other states shut their borders to Victoria. in the middle of July. The Victorian government introduced stage 4 restrictions. And so we keep on talking about stage 4. If we keep on talking about stage 4 lockdown, that's what we're talking about. Stage 4 restrictions were the hardest restrictions in Australia. And they were some of the hardest restrictions in the world, in fact. It meant that we could not travel more than 5 kilometres from our home. We had to wear masks outside. We were only allowed to travel in groups of 2 people from the same household. We couldn't have contact with our friends or our family. And there were a host of other kind of restrictions in terms of the way that we moved, the way that we behaved. Of course, that meant that all of the planned films had to be cancelled. No matter how careful everybody had been, we could not manage to get people into production with that level of restriction in place. And so all of these plans, some people have been working on their films for 3 years since they came into university. All of those plans were thrown out the window. And then people still had to make something. We were still on this course of education and creativity. We were still students, teachers, trying our best to just find opportunities to continue in our journey of creativity. Everything was going to change though. So all of those plans that we'd made ended. So that's the context that we've come into. We're starting to think now about the films that we could make in this crazy kind of stage 4 lockdown, when all of the plans that we had have been put aside. I think we held a hope. I think almost everybody held hope in July that things might get better, but it ended up that Melbourne spent 112 days in stage 4 lockdowns. That's almost 4 months, where we had massive restrictions on movement and connection to others, and that definitively destroyed all of the opportunities for getting outside and making films. So these guys today, these students presenting, have kind of managed to face this extraordinary social restriction, this extraordinary adversity. And I think that what they've managed to do and make has been an absolute triumph. So in some ways, this is a celebration of them and their resilience and their skills. So perhaps I'll start to hand over to you guys, to Gaiden, to Hannah, to Param, to Vinod, and hopefully to Danae, if she's still here as well, and to talk about maybe what your original projects were, and the role that you were going to play in those films. So if you guys are able to unmute yourselves, I'll perhaps I could see Gaiden on my screen, and oh, Vin, hey, how are you? I'll throw to Vin perhaps first. What was your original plan, and what was your original role?
Hi everyone, first of all, and thanks for having me. And my original plan was DOP on Hook in the Ceiling. The Safas is the director, and so I was the DOP for that short film that we prepared. Yeah.
Well, how much work had you done in preparation to
actually
shoot that?
Yeah, like I had a really good relationship with the director to make this happen, and pretty much I worked with the whole short list, write down and everything, and the location, and the technically wise, I did the part that make the director's view bring to his vision to the reality to get that. So I did the whole short list and the connection with the other students to make that happen. Yeah.
So you'd spent some months almost to work on this.
Even I had to pick all the camera gear, and within 2 days I had to return them all.
We got that close. Everybody, like half the people here actually picked up all the gear to go out to shoot before we got shut down. It was incredibly frustrating. Hannah, what about you? What was your original plan and your role?
So originally, again, sorry, hello everyone. Thank you for having us here. Originally I was had written and was directing a short horror film, Father's Home. And we were a fair way into, I mean, we completed all of our pre-production. We were into rehearsals. We all had to wear masks to our rehearsals. And as Martin said, we were really, really close to getting those films made. And then right at the last minute, we went into a really strict lockdown. So after that, we had a few weeks to come up with something new that we could do virtually, which most of us managed to pull something out. So, yeah.
What about you, Param? What was your original project and your original role?
Hey everyone. So my original project was The Release, which was a short horror, and I was the producer on the project. And so maintaining the budget, I was the go-to person for all the key creative department. Rescheduling, like I guess I rescheduled like a couple of times. Like every 10 days I had to reschedule because of the stages. We had stage 3, then we had stage 4, and then yeah. So there was a lot of like managing and stuff, like rescheduling and working along and booking things, like having, and also I was also working with the director in finding location. So we had to find the location or in Airbnb. We can't even go in their person and to find. So it was pretty hard. Yeah.
Yeah. So the job of the producer was a nightmare job at that particular point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Gaydon, what about you?
So I was writing and directing a film called Friendly Fire, which is like a small dramedy, happy, sad film about two friends who go out camping together and work through some old stuff and become friends, or re-become friends. And we were literally a week out from shooting when the stage 4 lockdown was placed. We blocked it all. Our shot list was all locked. We had the gear. We had paid money for Airbnbs for us to stay in out, because we were shooting out west, about an hour and a half west of the city. We had locked our location. We'd gone out and visited this lovely farmer on this winery, and he was like, yeah, come shoot here. We'd love to have you. We were all completely and utterly set to go. And then thanks to, in no small part, to my amazing producer, Ash Beams. And then lockdown came crashing down upon us. Yeah.
Now, I was going to ask Danae, but I think Danae's got some irregular internet. So if she drops back in, just send us a wave, Danae. So it was incredibly, I mean, it was an incredibly frustrating experience for all of you guys. How like so close to actually going into production on these films. Can I ask a quick question? How long did it take to shift from this idea that you've been working on for so long to your new idea?
A while. Oh, sorry. I'll just jump in. Yeah, it took a while, I think, because all of us were dealing with everything very differently. You know, all of us were holding on to that hope that our films would get made, that, you know, our things that we were doing and we put so much work into were going to happen. And then obviously it's just a lot of emotional things that you have to work through, as well as, you know, come up with a completely new idea. It's hard sometimes to be creative when you're going through such a, you know, weird and horrible time. So I think for us, it took maybe, I think, a week after we went into lockdown and our productions were cancelled. My crew and I kind of just did nothing for a week, and just kind of sat in it. And then we just jumped back on the horse and thought, okay, well, what can we do? We brainstormed immediately. We wrote a script the next week, and we worked out a way to film it over Zoom. So yeah, we sat in it for a bit, but then we just got into it, and yeah, it was a really good experience, I think.
You managed to kind of keep the team stayed together. The original team that you were going to be making your film with, your team stayed together, as did yours, Gaydon. Some students actually decided that they would intermit, they would stop their studies for the COVID period, and Param, the director that you were working with, was one of those people, Kirk. Yeah. And so what happened for you? Maybe talk us through what your journey was after everything was cancelled.
When stage 4 came in and Kirk left, and our DOP decided to do a solo project. So I was out of DOP, I was out of director. And right after, because during right before stage 4 came, I was still thinking of a different project. What if restrictions don't ease up or they go further? I probably have another project in mind, which I was thinking of doing solo, but I talked to my teammates about it, and they were happy to be on board. And because I watched a film like Unfriend Dark Web, I think that film really inspired me, that because it was you see the film all through the point of webcam. So that really inspired me that I can work something out from my home with the actors and other creative people. So yeah, and probably right after right after the stage 4 announced, probably in 3-4 days, I was done with the first draft of the script, because it was a prequel to that one, and I was done with and I sent to you, and you gave really good and interesting suggestions, which really helped us in the later on.
Yeah, it was a very, very quick turnaround for you to go from, okay, everything's cancelled and you don't even have a script or a director anymore, to suddenly you have a new role, a new script, a great idea, and inspired by Unfriended, which is such an interesting film. Sorry, what was it? Was it Dark Web?
Yeah, Unfriended Dark Web. And Host as well, because Host was also a movie that was shot over Zoom call. So there was another film, Host. So I keep saying every time, I'm a director by luck.
The lucky director. And Vin, what about so your situation was different again. What happened?
It took me 1 week to decide what's the next step gonna be. So 1 week. Yeah. So after the lockdown happened, so I discussed with my group, and so we discussed about what are the possibilities that we have now, after the lockdown. So I decided I'm going with the individual project rather than doing a Zoom thingy or anything else, because the reason I chose that decision, I wanted to show my DOP skills or directing or editing through. I wanted to show that what I learned through the 4 years studies, and I wanted to reflect on my last production. This is what I learned, at least try to show this is what I got through the whole years. So I decided that's one of the best decision that I can make, do my own individual production, and try to show at least to show what I wanted to show.
So you ended up writing, directing, producing, shooting, editing, sounding, did the catering.
And also I did a small part of acting as well.
And Gaydon, what about you? Your again, like Hannah, your team that you had when you came into this production subject, you stayed with the same team pretty much. Some minor changes. What did you end up doing?
So I took I'm pretty sure I took like a week off and like probably sat around the house moping and being sad and writing sad things. And then, but all the while, I kind of knew that I knew that stage 4 lockdown was coming, and I think because I remember the day before there was like rumors around and there was things going up on the ABC about how stage 4 could be happening tomorrow. Jane Andrews might announce it at 11 a.m. on Sunday. And I started thinking about what we could do instead. And I didn't really want to, just personally, on a completely personal level, I just didn't really feel like doing a Zoom kind of thing. I didn't feel like doing something with my script that I had already originally written. I wanted to do something kind of new and different and push myself in a different direction and push my team in a different direction and push us all creatively, because that's kind of the point of the third year film. And I just didn't feel like those other options would do that for us. So I ended up taking a week off, and then I came back and I pitched my idea to my group, which was to take a feature film that I had written and I would rewrite it, make it a little bit better. And then we would kind of make supplementary materials around that and pretend like we were submitting this feature film to get funding from a government body here in Australia. And so, yeah, like maybe a week and a half after, I remember we had like a week-long break, maybe 2 weeks after lockdown came in, and I in a week I rewrote a feature film and sent it to everybody, and then we shipped it down and kind of made this proof of concept, or decided to make this proof of concept with the rest of the team, and each team was doing something else related to that as well.
That's incredible, because I think one of the things that that I kept on enforcing on people was that you had to make some kind of film. And whilst Gaydon wrote an entire feature film script, there was still this drive to produce something at the end of it, like an actual piece of moving image. And so the kind of decision to make a very experimental trailer, if you will, I think was such a interesting kind of decision to make. I believe that we've lost Danae, so it's just us. So I'd love to talk with you all. I suppose we've been looking at the challenges of COVID and how those restrictions kind of, stopped so many opportunities. Then I'd like to maybe talk about for you, like if you can think about how you adapted to the restrictions and how that kind of flowed through into the way that you made your film. So, I mean, you all pretty much took a week to mope, to spend a little bit of time thinking about what's next. But then you all, bang, turned around, pivoted, dare I say. Never thought we'd hear that word again. You pivoted to something new very, very quickly. How did you write and plan for this new thing, given the fact that we couldn't leave our homes, that we couldn't travel, that, how did you figure out how to manage these extreme restrictions? And maybe Hannah, shall we go back to you? Or Vin.
Okay.
First in, first serve.
Yeah. I listed what I have now. So I got the camera gear. It's not the best, but it does the work. And the location was going to be in my house. So, and that's an actor was going to be myself or someone in the house. And the next, the crew was going to be myself and maybe another housemate. And yeah, that's all I got. So I got house, the camera gear, and pretty much that's it. And so I think about what kind of story that I can make with that restriction. So I came up with the idea that actually that we are facing the situation, to turn to a cinematic way, at a different way, show that the situation that we are facing. So that's the idea, and yeah. that's how it's end up.
Param said that he had been inspired by Unfriended Dark Web. Was there any particular inspiration that helped shape your film, Vinod?
Pardon?
Was there any particular films or TV shows or other things that shaped your ideas?
Not really, but to be honest, after you mentioned that David Lynch movies, so I used to watch his movies when I'm doing my certificate for and diploma. So I think it might be like a in my head somewhere in that particular the style was there, but I didn't notice that. But after you mentioned, okay, when this looks great and you should watch more David Lynch movies, and then I got remember, oh yeah, that's true, and that's actually helps me to turn the movie to bring a more what I call like a depth to the movie. Yeah.
Some lovely kind of surreal elements enter into the film, and we should probably have a look at some of the films in a moment after this section. But I just would like to also point out that the Vimeo link of the films that were produced by you guys has been posted in the chat with the password Visionaire. If anybody would like to just save that and have a look at what these guys produced in full. Hannah, what about you in terms of how, you had to work with this group of people. I mean, you had a lot of people in your team. How did you actually give them roles that were meaningful and come up with an idea that made any sense whatsoever, given, again, given the restrictions and the fact that you've made a decision to work with lots of different people who were remote from you?
I think we were just really lucky in this situation that everyone in our group were really close with one another. We've known each other for a few years and we all had each other's backs and we're all there to support one another. And I think that's so important when you're working with anyone. I think if you're there to support each other, that's when your best creative ideas can come to the surface. You need to be comfortable with one another. So we just were there to support each other through the pain. And then once we got over that step, we were right in there ready to brainstorm, talk it out, everyone throwing their ideas for stories, characters, names of the film, what kind of vibe we wanted to go for, what roles everyone wanted to contribute. And luckily, a few of the members of our crew are also not afraid to act, so they ended up being our actors as well. We were all, I think our crew were in 5 different locations. I directed it over Zoom and we pulled all our resources, who has a camera, who has a microphone, who has some random lights that they can set up. And yeah, we kind of just combined all of our resources, all of our skills and ideas, and came up with something. So
how would you describe your film, Hannah?
I would say it's definitely within the horror genre. It does take place over Zoom, and it does have a lot of twists and turns. It's kind of a romance turned into a horror. So yeah, it was really great that our crew were willing to act, and I kind of took inspiration from who they are in real life when writing the script. And that was really cool. So
yeah, write what you know.
Yeah.
Great. And what about you? I mean, you said that you were working on a prequel for release. Perhaps maybe you could talk a little bit about what release was and then how you managed to conceive of Phantasm, which is the film that you came up with.
So the release was also a film in which there was a virus in the world, same global situation, pandemic, but it also gives you hallucinations, which the person feels like it's in reality, it's a ghost. So yeah, it plays with the human mind. So same way we wanted to, like the prequel doesn't go in depth, but we show the same kind of same world, same genre. It plays with the human mind, sub-genre with horror, and it showcases, but it just simply shows one girl, a girl who is in seclusion in the pandemic, got virus, and now is hallucinating when she's talking to her fiance who hasn't called her back in a while, who is um, a doctor and essential worker in another city. So yeah, and yeah, please go. Yeah.
How did you find your, I mean, so Hannah has said that she was working with her cast were her crew. So the crew became the cast, that's how it fitted together. Then your housemates, people like living with you, that was your How did you find your people, Param, your performers, your actors?
Yeah, so I posted an acting on Stano website, and I got because obviously it's going to be work from home thing, and I got like 190 to 200 applicants. I shortlisted them, asked them to send up like an audition tape, and then that's all. And another major factor with other than acting was the location, probably their house in which they'll shoot the film. It has to be the kind of we're going forward with. And thank God we got the same. We got the right actress who was really hardworking, and we got the perfect location we had in mind. So yes.
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing you cast for both actors and where they were. So it was like a fantastic kind of problem solve there to have both of those things. Gaiden, what about you? Your experience was a bit different, I suppose, with performers. Like, how did you approach your filming?
Yeah, so I decided we would kind of take several scenes from the film that could be visualized easily, that could be visualized well, because I tend to write lots of dialogue scenes and lots of people sitting around talking in rooms, which I'm getting better at and writing less of, slowly but slowly. But yeah, I tend to write a lot of that, and so I cherry-picked scenes from the film that I thought were very visually striking or could be visualized in an interesting way, or might reveal something stylistically interesting about the film and my vision for it. And I kind of also made it map somewhat the structure of the film. And so it's about 5 scenes or four really. And then it was kind of about, okay, well, we can't meet up, even though we did for one scene, but it was fine. It was fine. We all wore masks and we all socially distanced, and it was exercise, and you were allowed to do that at that point. Deacon were none the wiser. Don't break me. Yeah. So they're not listening right now. And so the idea at first was kind of, okay, how do we combine visuals with a voiceover? So I recorded all of the big text, so all of the action for the screenplay, and then we took the 2 performers that I'd cast for my original film that I was meant to do, Sophie and Tim, and they played Grace and Tom, who are the main leads of the film, of Her Name Was Grace. I took a lot of inspiration from comic books, in particular this comic book, and this comic book, which is my computer's resting on, but it's the Sandman by Neil Gaiman, because comic books are these wonderful little places where you have a caption and a still image, and as a reader you combine those two and it becomes, you create this in-between space. And so that's what we were trying to do, to take our visuals and how we edited them, how we shot it all, and me talking and the actors performing, and seeing how we could add those 2 things together to create this in-between space that the audience could kind of project onto. So it was very different and very strange and very weird. I couldn't have done it without Eilish Boyd, who is both cinematographer, editor, sound designer at some points. She was incredible, and we
production design.
Yeah, co-producer. We completely fed off each other to make the film, and kept pushing each other's creativity. And really, for a long time, it was just us doing it. For the most part, really, it was just the 2 of us.
you basically had, yeah, 2 people and then a producer who was helping with another component, and the actors doing the little table read section. That was it. Now, I'd love, hopefully, to be able to show some excerpts from each of your films. I doubt the capacity of my internet, so you'll have to bear with us, and I'm hoping that somebody will be able to give me a wave if it's not working. So Vin, perhaps I'll start with you again. We'll show something from the project, maybe just a 1-minute excerpt. And perhaps we should just take the opening scene. Do you want to set it up?
All right.
Well, I'll play it back if one off my screen, but if you, yeah, tell us about what we might be seeing.
Okay. All right.
Sorry, guys. Just have to. There we go. Aha. Now, can we hear it?
No.
Okay. You'd think after all this time that I would be able to figure out the sharing of sound and vision. Can we hear it now?
Yep.
Great. All right. So we're going to play the first minute or so of Vin's film that he shot, edited, directed, produced, and everything else. The project.
Yo, what's up?
It's gone.
What? What are you talking about?
The camera gear, it wasn't in the car. Someone broke in.
What? Are you fucking kidding me? But we need to film it tomorrow. How are we supposed to find camera gear in the last minute?
I don't know. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Vin. So black and white,
Yeah.
setup is clear.
The reason I'm not happy with my backgrounds, and I didn't have much time to think about the set designing and stuff. So I came with the, okay, I think, yeah, I'm going with the black and white and to hide the stuff that I didn't want to show. So that's the main reason I choose black and white. And lighting wise, I just had 2 CFLs, and so I mainly used natural lights for that, and I use CFL for the highlight the faces and that kind of thing. And so I used one actor except me, and I used green screen to, there was 2 characters, but the same person acting as the 2 characters, and so I used green screen and did that option to make it cover. And the mainly I wanted to like show, because I focus on how I get more marks to the assessment. So I wanted to show camera angles and sounds and how to shot dialogue sequence with the 180-degree angle, and that kind of learn stuff that I learned through the years. So I wanted to show them, oh, this is how I gonna do this, and this is how to shoot it. So I think I got a good mark. I got a good mark for that, and I think even though I'm not that much happy about the script, because I'm not a good script writer. I need more time to write a script or any, like I can't do like within a week. So, but I think what I focus on editing, DOP, and directing, and I think with the marks, and I think I did the right thing. I guess I'm happy with the marks. Yeah.
I hope you're happy with the film as well. And Hannah, what about you? I will show the first. Well, we could show the first minute or so of "I Heard She Was Crazy." I don't want to spoil the ending, but unless there's another section that you've got in mind.
Oh no, go for it. Go for the.
Okay, no worries. So I'll do that, and then perhaps you can kind of tell us who was who, how things worked, and yeah, kind of like reverse set the clip up for us, if you will. So I'll see if I can actually make this thing happen again. This is the opening minute of "I Heard She Was Crazy" from Hannah and her team. Stop it there. The beginnings of the date. There's tension. There's swearing. There's one of our students, Josh Glass, with a fantastic lockdown beard. Some of us decided to grow as much hair on our faces and our heads as we possibly could during the lockdown. Yeah, sorry. So Hannah, what was the maybe give us a little bit of a setup and how you kind of decided to frame this, because it looks like it's, you know, relatively well filmed and lit.
Yes. So we were just lucky enough. So in our stage 4 lockdown, we weren't allowed to visit anyone's home unless they were their partner. And lucky for us, we had 3 sets of partners in our crew. So we actually were able to have 2 people in the same house. One of them was, you know, sound recorder, DOP, while our actual DOP was on Zoom telling them, you know, the shot. They were screen sharing their cameras to us on Zoom, and we were saying, you know, move that, like that, do whatever. But ultimately it was in their hands. Our actors, Josh there is our sound, and Carla, who was dancing there in the beginning, that she's our producer. So, you know, we had a lot of crossing of roles in that. And yeah, they filmed at their own houses. We used all our own equipment that they had, and we weren't allowed to visit each other's sets. So that's kind of how that worked.
How did you review the footage?
Oh gosh, how did we review this footage?
How did you actually manage directing? Like, you know,
it was difficult I think it was really difficult too, because I'm probably maybe a little bit of a control freak, some may say. And when you're directing over Zoom, you have to learn to communicate and you have to learn to delegate. You can't be there and just say, oh, I'll do it myself, or you can't be there to show what you're talking about. So you have to learn how to trust, and you have to learn how to communicate. And they were screen sharing on Zoom. I can't remember what the program is, but they were screen sharing their viewfinder on their cameras, but it was super laggy and poor quality, and the internet was really bad. So I was just getting kind of these glitchy, jumpy shots of what their frame was, and we'd be like, yeah, that's great. Sure, I'm sure that's fine. We trust you. And, you know, I direct and as best I could without being there. I think it got so much easier. You know, we shot 4 nights for about 8 hours each. It got easier as we went along. The first night was probably a nightmare just because, you know, we were on Zoom and we couldn't all be together. It was really difficult. Technical difficulties kind of get in the way of everything sometimes. So yeah, then they uploaded the footage onto our OneDrive, and we could review it that night. If there were any issues, we had to add it into the next shoot schedule. And yeah.
So it was quite a convoluted process, quite a complex process, and a little bit laggy.
Yes, definitely very laggy, very unnecessarily confusing, and it was a really great learning experience for us. I think it was really hard not to become frustrated at first, but it was really helpful in learning how to adapt to new, you know, ways of doing things. And yeah, we got there in the end and we came out with something pretty good. So
yeah, it's pretty spectacular. The date goes off the rails, but I won't chuck any spoilers up. Param, you also had to manage directing through Zoom, and we'll watch the first minute or so again, if that's a good section to watch.
How about 526? 526?
526?
Yeah, that shows the room as well, yeah.
Okay. I'll jump through to around about then, and hopefully everything will work for me. Do you want to set that clip up in some way before we play it? Like what's happened before this?
So it's hard to explain. Okay, so she's talking to her fiance after such a long time. She's been having a video call with her, and they're talking to each other, and she's been utmost very silent. And he's in the office, she's in the home, he's in the clinic, and she's in her bedroom, and yep. And that's
and has there been any, what's their relationship like? So he's the doctor at home.
Yeah, so yep. And they've been in a relationship a couple of years, yeah, probably like that way. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll play a minute or so of this as. I've
got to take this, okay? Just give me 1 sec. Sorry.
No. Oh, God, what is wrong with you? Come on. Better. God, you are nothing. You are nothing. It's all in your head.
suspenseful end. Hopefully that's like a great teaser before people, watch the entirety. So you ended up getting great performances, Param, out of these guys. Tell us how you managed to work with them. How did they come fully prepped, and was it very easy to direct them? Or Hannah talked about the challenges of Zoom. I mean, how did you manage that process of directing the actors and really getting them to inhabit the roles and be believable in this relationship?
Yeah, so it was pretty tough from the beginning as well, because first I had to send in the equipments, which I Uber delivered them or maybe ordered from Office Works, use of lighting and all. And that puts a lot of pressure on the actors. Rather than just acting, they had to work, they have to place the equipments, props, and they're being guided by the key creatives. So there was a lot of work involved for the actors other than acting. So right before, and directing from Zoom, it was challenging. Again, it was so challenging because it's sometimes you have to show, you have to show to the actors how you want the performance to be. And I'm just sitting here on the chair and just guiding them, and it's tough. And other point was I had a great team. We took turns in guiding them. First the production designer, then the DOP, and then I directed them, explained the scenes to them. So it was, and then after all this, like after an hour of working on the production and then getting the right frame, and with the frames, we struggled a lot because the film was shot on mobile. We use tripods, we use the mobile mount and all, and there was a lot of we use screen mirroring, and then we screen mirror the iPhone on the laptop, and then we screen share on Zoom, so share screen on Zoom, so to have a clear view of the framing and all. So that was really time consuming and irritating for us because we weren't getting the right frame. And the other problem was with the lighting. Lighting played a very key role in our film. We have really many colors. We use aperture MC, we use smart bulbs as well, and we even use garbage bags. I just put a garbage bag on a ring light, a colored garbage bag on a ring light, to get that feel, to get the color. And because we don't want to, I think we are overboard for just a remote project. We put $800 on it. Our film put. So yes, we didn't want it to cross the limit. So yeah, we use garbage bags itself. So it was pretty tough. And with directing, I use action verbs and all to convey the message, to help so that they get into performance. And I think my actors were really experienced. They were really experienced. They were really hardworking. They showed the passion because they, after implementing everything, equipments and props, they were still we shot from 6 p.m. till 2 a.m. in the morning, and it was a 3-day shoot. Yeah, very much. That's a wrap.
3-day shoot, full on. Sorry, I just lost you at the end there. My internet's going to go wobbly. I can feel it. So, Gaydon, I'll throw to you because you had invisible actors, I suppose, for the majority of it.
I did, yeah.
Now, I'll play a section from the film. Is there a particular section that you'd like me to play, first minute, or?
I think Some of the Dream is the best. I think that's the best part. It's at it starts at 1:50. It's quite long, so you have to watch the whole thing. But I think that's probably the most. That's the part I'm the most proud of. And love the most.
And can I ask why is that part the part that you're most proud of?
In the feature itself, it's one of the parts I think is the best written. It's this kind of dream sequence where that kind of becomes, I suppose, the inciting, it becomes the propulsion for the rest of the film. It happens about at the end of the first act. It's this dream sequence where Tom, who's had his heart broken, has this vision of him and Grace doing this big, huge romantic thing to get her back and it working, and then it all crumbles around him. And I think that it's just it's something really striking and visual. And it was something on the page when I was talking with Eilish, my cinematographer and editor, we were there's so much potential here. but there's also so much potential for us to stuff it up some way and not have it be interesting and engaging. And I think we pushed ourselves a lot with that scene, and I pushed Eilish particularly with some of the stylistic flourishes and editing choices to create something that's really special. And it also has this gorgeous score that we had done for the film by an incredibly talented composer here in Melbourne, Samuel Krusler, which every time I hear it, I'm just like, I can't believe that was made for this and for me. Like it's just, the cognitive dissonance is so strange. But yeah, I think it's representative of what we were going for, really.
Beautiful. All right. Well, let me again share the screen and just play it from around about 1:45, and perhaps just give me the stop when you're ready. Where we go.
He hangs up and starts to tidy. Interior, Grace's flat, hallway, dream. Grace walks towards her room. The walls aren't solid. This is not the real world. Instead, an apparition, a smoky mirror of reality. Grace pauses at her door. She takes a deep breath, then opens it and enters. Interior, Grace's room, continuous. The room is an intricately decorated web of fairy lights, a picture book come to life. Grace is stunned. She surveys the glowing fairy jungle spilling out in front of her. She takes a step forward. She bends down to look at the cause of the sound, a small sticky note. Grace smiles. She takes a closer look at the room. There are these sticky notes covering the walls and furniture. She starts to walk around, examining each note she passes.
Oh, was that the right place? I thought I saw a fist.
Yeah. I didn't. It goes on for like another minute, so I didn't want to like. Everyone else got a minute. I can have a minute.
As I said before, like you chose a very different approach in terms of trying to evoke the mood of the film through. I suppose I keep on using this word psychogeographic, where the spaces become alive with the characters, although we might not see them. And there's other filmmakers like Peter Greenaway who have done this with his short film Dear Phone Booth, and Patrick Keeler, who did Robinson in Ruins, some beautiful experimental filmmakers. But you said you were influenced more by the comic books and the script itself, obviously, to get to this point. Which I thought was really, really interesting. I just thought it was like a really lovely and imaginative shift that you took in terms of bringing this story to life, given the restrictions that were in place and the fact that you managed to not break them at all throughout the entire production. Not at all.
We would never.
Yeah. But how on earth did you manage to get all of that design happening? I mean, was that all Eilish?
Yeah,
the cinematographer.
Yes, that's Eilish's bedroom. Everything in the film, everything but one scene. One scene is my front yard, and everything else is all in Eilish's house. Eilish was our production designer, editor, cinematographer, and just all-round incredible human being. Basically, we just sat down and we chatted about it. In the script, it talks about, I think the description of it's like it's meant to look like this kind of carnival of fairy lights, and this absolute romanticized version of love with post-it notes everywhere and of memories and lovey-dovey things. And she just took it and ran with it. I remember she came around. I've still got all of the some of the post-it notes left. She wrote, I think, about 400 post-it notes. I gave her I borrowed from my friend these 2 10-meter long rings of fairy lights, and she just went for it. So I unlike Hannah and Param, didn't oversee the shots or anything. I really trust Eilish, and it was just going to be too hard to do that. And I was like, I just trust you to go for it. Like, you know what I want. We'd been so tightly working together on Friendly Fire that like we would often be like, so I was thinking like of replacing this shot with this shot in the shot list, and she would go, yes, I was thinking the exact same thing, or vice versa. And so I just completely and utterly trusted her to go with it. And it was really just through the editing, that's when I would give my creative input. And that was when we would really shape and mold it. And she spent a lot of time re-editing that scene in particular. It took a long time to get right.
Wow. And can I ask, what did you film on in the end?
I think we filmed on her Canon 500D, maybe, like it's just a DSLR. And she just bought a Ronin stabilizer, so we could do some of those more smooth shots. There's a shot later in a boxing scene where like we move around the back of me and it's like very smooth. But that was it. It was just Canon, and like almost all of it was natural light other than that scene. And yeah, that's all we really needed.
And Vin and Hannah, like, what did you guys end up shooting on? I noticed, Vin, that you had a lot of these beautiful little tracks and moves, but you also have later in the film green screen. Did you buy the green screen? I mean, did you just have it lying around? It was...
Yeah, actually, I had a green screen. I recently bought it, and yeah, I use a Sony a6400 crop sensor DSLR camera, and I have few equipments though, like a stabilizer, dolly tracks, and stuff, and Soma rate for the sound, and yeah.
Yeah. So you knew that you could kind of put that those things, those tricks into action. And Hannah, what about you? Like, I'm assuming that different people in the different places actually had different gear. I mean, was that a challenge?
Yes, but luckily both of Jackie and Carla, who were on the 2 different sets, have very similar cameras. They both use their Canons, and I think they might actually be the same camera, so that just worked out well for us. And obviously each set we were creating kind of a different vibe anyway, so having different lighting and different all of those extra things wasn't too big of a deal, as long as the camera quality was kind of similar, which it was. That was all that was kind of important in terms of like having it balanced and continuity. Yeah.
I was going to ask, like, most of like you spoilers for you, Hannah. But Param, we've seen that you have some effects that you used. How did, again, was that something that you worked with an editor on, or did you bring somebody else in? Was it difficult to?
Editor and you worked with on the visual effects as well. And I feel that was, again, I think overall the biggest challenge was the editing part for our film. Because getting the rough cut and the final cut, and when you're working with the editor, you usually sit with the editor and you say, okay, we can try this something. When a director sits with the editor and you can try something over here. But we couldn't do with the stage 4 lockdown. We couldn't do anything. It was all remote. So he sends me, and then I notes like, is this at this particular second, we need to make these changes and all. So it took us like probably 20 days to get the final cut. And from the final cut, we started working on the visual effects. That took another 10 days. And with visual effects thing, the post-production, we can try as many ideas as we can. And we did. We tried a lot of ideas. We had a different process, with different technique in mind at first. But during the post-production stage, we were like we had the clone technique. We did the clone. We did added more graphics on it, and then the glitches. added glitches to represent the hallucination she's been having, and to see like, and also give the ghost feel. And then later on we got on board, we had Leon on board, who was a music composer, and he did fairly well with the music. He did a fairly good, amazing job with the music. The music also intensifies the thrill at that stage. And another problem was managing all these, because everyone was remotely working, and editor in Melbourne, and we had the time frame problem as well, because my editor was in Melbourne, my sound designer was in Oman. And yes, that was another problem.
Oman.
Yeah.
As in Oman, the country Oman.
Oman, the country, yeah. Hamoud.
Wow.
Yeah. Even our DOP was in India when we were shooting. Yeah.
So you were across, is that 3 continents?
Yeah, 3 continents.
Amazing. Yeah. And seamlessly pulled together. So I'm aware of the time. I think that we have about 5 or 6 more minutes left, and Kritika has said in the chat that folks can post their questions in the chat box if we've got any people who ask questions. We can open that up now. I suppose I wanted to ask you guys, you know, just a bit of a summary section, if you will. Like, how do you feel? This is a big question. Like, on reflection, now you guys are through. You finished these films. How do you feel this worked for you, or didn't work, and how do you feel about what you ended up making? You know, what did you learn, and what would you kind of share with other people as the key learnings of this experience? So I don't know, anybody who wants to go first, just jump in.
Anna, you want to go first?
Like a Mexican stand-up. My God, we were staring at each other. Jeez.
Throw me under the bus.
I need close-ups. I can go first. I think I think her name was Grace. Making that film, I am proud of it now. I think there was definitely moments, as there are on anything you're working on, where you just go, my God, what have I done? What have I just spent all of this time on? Why did I do this? But now, and also, I mean, sharing it with people has been really good, because the response has been really great. And you know, there's always things when you watch when you watch anything you make, you go, if only we could have just fixed this or fixed that. But then you show it to people, like normal people, and they just go, oh, no, it's great. What do you mean? I loved it. Yeah, that was good job, man. That's great. And you just go, it actually doesn't really matter. It only matters to me. And maybe that's okay. I think
so true.
Yeah, I think in terms of what I learned making this weird experimental film definitely taught me to be more creative, to tell stories in a much more visual way. I think it definitely pushed me in an interesting direction to kind of embrace that creativity and that slightly experimental edge. It taught me like just what you can do with adding, just the power of editing. Like films are created by an accumulation of images, and like it really taught me about how important that accumulation is, about how each shot informs the next shot and the next shot, and you're gaining information from what's in that shot next to this shot and why that's important. I think that's really what it taught me, and also that you can just make things and it makes you feel good, and you should just keep doing it. Like, to quote Neil Gaiman, like, just make good art. If your wife runs off with a motorbiker, like, just make good art. Like, just keep doing it. If the world gets shut down because of a horrible pandemic, just make some good art. That's really what it taught me, that I can keep doing it and that I'm okay at it, which is always nice.
Yeah. And okay, Hannah, Param, what about you guys? Yeah.
Yeah, I strongly believe that mainly that I got the confidence to shoot by myself, because of I previously the previous year I voluntarily worked with third year students with their final productions. So I worked with 4 productions, and I got that experience, like how to be on set and how the things going to to make a film, and some like in the different productions they work differently, and so I realized how. So I learned from them how to do this, and what's the weaknesses, how I improve when I'm doing my thingy. So yeah, so that's really important. Like a voluntary, like a be on set and get that experience with the uh, the knowledge you getting from the lectures and the studyings, and also that also important be on set and get that the experience how to shoot a film, and that helps a lot. And also, so I shoot my film because I had a DSLR camera, but if I hadn't, I will shoot on my mobile phone. So it doesn't matter, like, so that's the main thing. If you have to think about what you have now, and list everything that the opportunities you got, and do something that you already have one, like the make something that you already got, so you can try to um, create the best version of it, uh, rather than like thinking, okay, previously I was like, okay, I'm gonna save money and do this, and I might be take another year or maybe 2 years to get that point. But actually, now I know, like, even you have like small stuff, but you have to make something to get. You can get it in the future, but you need that experience to get that the way you wanna go. Yeah. So
Yeah, it's definitely about. Oh,
yeah,
sorry,
wanna
you finished,
wish
Finn.
everyone. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so wanna wish everyone to good luck for your future, and yeah, make good
Make good
movies.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good stuff.
use what you have to make good stuff. I think that's great advice. What about you, Hannah?
I think that obviously all of us this year learned that if there's a will, there's a way. And if you have an idea, and as Vin said, you have a mobile phone, or you have, a little camera, or you have a computer, you have anything, you can make something. If you have passion behind it, you believe in your idea, and you want to get creative, you can make anything that you want to make, which is really awesome. And you don't even have to be in the same room as any of the people that you make something with. You can just all be in different sides of the world and just make something together, and that's really awesome. And you just have to learn. I think we all learn also just how to adapt, to go roll with the punches, be really resilient, and just keep going. And yeah, we learned so many things through this experience, but yeah, I would say that those are the main ones. And as Vin said as well, you can make so many bad things if you think that maybe that your films that you've made in the past, or things that you make, you're like, oh, that's not very good. You watch it back and maybe don't think it's very good. Each time you make one of those bad films, you're just getting better and better at it. Like, you're improving upon yourself with every bad thing that you make, and then eventually, you'll be good. So just keep making stuff, and as long as you keep making stuff, it's a learning experience. So yeah, that's what I learned, I would say.
Yeah, great. One of my favourite quotes is that Samuel Beckett quote, where I think he says, "Ever try, ever fail, never mind, fail better." And I think that's part of what this kind of experience of resilience has been. It's like this constant kind of pushing. Paran, what about you?
I feel obviously it was a unique experience for all of us, and I feel one must need to like adapt to the situation you're in, and you get creative. Even in whatever situation you are, you will end up if you're a creative person, you will end up bringing out the best creative thing you can bring, and that's what we all did. And yeah, it was really tough. It was challenging. It was depressing as well, because we couldn't make our first project. But at the end of the day, we all wanted a good project at the end, and we got that, and we were happy to, and we were really proud of what we got. And even like I remember, because in my production, from pre-production to post-production stage, there was lots of ups and downs, many things changed, and the change is better. It just, if you couldn't make it, there was failure, but we learned from it and we made a much better thing at the end. So I think, yeah, one must just keep working on it. If you have an idea, keep working on it and don't stop until you finish it. So yeah.
Yeah.
I was also just going to throw in at the end, I was just thinking, listening to you all, like, I just also learned the absolute importance of collaboration and finding people who are way smarter and way better than you, and then getting them to do things for you, and enjoying working with them. Like, I couldn't have done anything I did without Eilish. Like, the editor of our film is an Eilish Boyd and Caitlin Sousa production, because she's like my absolute champion, and she just, like, that film is hers as much as it is mine. And so finding those people, I think, is really important, and doing things with them.
Yeah, it's beautiful. As you said in your bio, Param, it's like, reap the benefits from the team that you work with. We've got a few questions, but I'm also aware of time, so we started a little late, and for us here in Melbourne, it's coming up towards a bit after 9 o'clock. But we've got a great question from Muskan Bawija, who said, the confines of COVID have forced filmmakers to think creatively and improvise production and storytelling methods. Will storytelling be affected in the long term by logistical choices of indoor sets and other limitations? That's the first part of the question. So do you think storytelling on film is going to be affected in the long term by the limitations that are now in place from, the legacy perhaps of the long tail of COVID?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I think everyone will be more careful about the stories they choose to make, because it will be harder to make them, probably. And so hopefully that means we'll get more good things than bad things.
That was the second part of the question, which was so Muskans asks, there's been a lot of new things, like they mention OTT, a platform which has actively supported other innovations and creativity. I mean, even just Zoom, or using Frame.io, or there's other online collaborative tools. So they ask, do you think in these terms there'll be like inadvertent promotion of better filmmaking because of these adaptations that we've had to make? Do you think that that's a big question?
Yes, I absolutely think so. I think that a lot of things that were made, like during this time of COVID, like wouldn't have been made otherwise, if we didn't have to, persevere, or we didn't have to overcome, or we didn't have these new experiences. So many documentary series came of people in lockdown. I mean, all of our stories came from being in lockdown, and it's all new. It wouldn't have happened without COVID. So I think that and kind of linking into what we were saying before, it's not, these massive production companies can't really be making these massive productions anymore. So if you have a phone, if you have a crew, if you have an idea, you can kind of have a bit of an even playing field with all of these other big industry heads. So I think that's something positive that comes out of it.
Interesting. So in some ways, maybe it offers the potential to level the playing field, because, if nobody has access to anything, then everybody has a far greater or far more equal opportunity.
Yes, we're all in the same sinking boat. Yeah.
So I'm aware that we've got a few minutes over, and so maybe Kritika or Professor Ambrish, we can throw back to you to wrap up. I'd just like to say thank you to Hannah, and to Finn, and to Gaten and Param, and also to Danae, who lost her internet, and say thanks, guys, so much for coming and sharing your experience and insights.
Thank you for having us.
Yes,
It's awesome.
thank you so much.
Yeah,
Really
thank
great.
you so much, guys.
It was really great to listen to all of you, how what all challenges you faced while making films, how you adapted to these things and made these brilliant films. And I'm sure all the participants who are here, who have accessed the link that had been shared in the chat box of Vimeo, they will be very happy to watch these films. So now we'll be moving toward the conclusion of this session. So before we concluded, I would request Dr. Amrish Saxena to please come and address the gathering.
Thank you, Kritika. It was really an amazing session. I was listening to the entire session. On the same lines, yesterday also the DME Media School students organized a session, and the topic was ease in filmmaking in the digital era. And the problems which are being faced and the issue of technology, issues of quality, and particularly the kind of things which are happening since this COVID-19 has struck. So everybody has his or her own story with regard to the kind of problems which were faced in making the films. And as I have been looking at for the last 8 months, number of students I have seen making films during this trouble time. Also, some professionals also in Delhi, I have found that they have been making a lot of films. A few of those films we have even screened during this film festival. But then what I feel, there are two things which have happened because of this COVID-19, and we talk about the impact on the filmmaking. One, I believe that everybody has learned to meet the different kind of challenges in filmmaking. Because normally most of the filmmakers, even the budding filmmakers, if they are studying in some good institutions, they get all kind of facilities, the equipments, the best of the cameras and all, and then you shoot. Now this time made everybody learn how to work in scarcity, how to work in a situation wherein you are not equipped and still you are committed to filmmaking. So that is, I believe, is one takeaway during this period. And another takeaway is that despite all this, how can you make some quality films, whether it's the question of camera, I mean, not having the good camera, not having the lights even, and not even having the kind of audio quality that you need. All that is not with you, and still you are trying to make films. Though film is a medium which is a visual medium, and it has to be visually rich. If it is not visually rich, then obviously the viewing experience will not be that good, and the people will not be attracted to that kind of thing. But then, what we have learned as teachers with our students, that now we can meet whatever challenges are there. Like we are organizing this second edition of CIFFI, and it was almost impossible when we thought of this, that but then we did a lot of experiments which succeeded ultimately. Because the problem was, whenever we are doing the things in a physical mode, then in one auditorium some screening might be happening, in another conference hall some curate session or some panel discussion might be happening. We have 4 or 5 things happening simultaneously. But in this kind of scenario wherein everything is to be online, having two set of things was very difficult. But then we could do it if you know about this. Else, I am telling you this to all of you. Now, what we are doing everything simultaneously on 2 platforms. On one platform, I mean, this session is happening on Zoom. And we have a very splendid studio where Kritika is sitting. So she is doing this anchor is doing the program from the studio, and the feed is being taken to the Zoom, and then from Zoom it is being live streamed on the website of DME Media School. We have a the website of DME Media School, and then we have a microsite of CIFFI only, of film festival only. So the live streaming is happening on our website, and at the same time in another window we are doing the live streaming of the films which we received for this festival. So if you go to our website, you have the option of either watching the film or participating in these kind of deliberation, the sessions which are happening. So we could do it after a lot of efforts, and we have that kind of team, the faculty members who made it possible. So I mean, otherwise we could never think of, but then the challenge was there. We tried to meet that challenge, and we came out with this kind of solution. And another good thing that has happened even this dark time, that when we organized the festival last time in Delhi, then a number of people came from Australia, from Melbourne, but then only 4 or 5 people could come. But this time we are able to connect with so many people, not only in Australia, but from different parts of the world. Like tomorrow, there is a session on Children's Film Festival at the same time, 2:30 to 4. And in that, we are having on board the festival director of Children's Film Festival in Greece, the festival director of Children's Film Festival in Canada, the festival director of Children's Film Festival in South Africa. So all that has become possible. Obviously, nobody would welcome the pandemic, but then once pandemic is there, then we have to learn how to live with it and how to make our existence in this and how to create a mark even during this difficult period. So we have to keep our spirit high. And if that is there, obviously nothing is possible. Anything can be done. So the films which have been made by the student, this is definitely a welcome thing. And this has made you learn. And in future, when you will pursue a career in filmmaking, I think whatever odds might be there, that will not deter you, and you will always do some good work in filmmaking. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Also, now Dr. Vikrant Kishore has joined us. He is the course director, Films, Television and Animation, School of Communication and Creative Arts, Deakin University, and Festival Director, CIFFI 2020. So, sir, I request you to please come and say a few words to all the people who are present here. Vikrant, sir.
Hey, sorry, you are putting me into a tight spot. I'm driving at the moment. I told Ambriji that I won't be participating. So thank you all. And just I'm switching myself off. I'm just listening to the audio of this session. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. So now, as we move toward the conclusion, it was indeed a very interesting session, and it was wonderful listening to all the panelists and Dr. Martin Potter and discussing the filmmaking in this such situations. So now, for organizing this CIFFI, I would like to thank everyone of the team in our team. So I would like to thank our entire team, all faculty members and students who have worked day and night, facing the challenges and obstacles of pandemic to make this festival happen. I want to thank our jury members for patiently and fairly watching all the movies and for giving their precious time and feedback. My sincere thanks to Dr. Martin Potter and our panelists who made time to be here among us for this panel discussion. And I once again like to thank our festival partners, Cover Drive Productions, Vigyan Prasad, CMS Vatavaran, Kids Cinema 2020, We Care Film Festival, Delhi International Film Festival, our university partner, Adamas University, and institutional partners, Indian Documentary Producers Association, Indian Academy of Shorts, New Delhi Film Foundation, and our media partner, The Pioneer and The Policy Times, for their support. And our festival ambassador, Mr. Tigmanshu Dhulia, celebrated film maker, director, and actor. CIFFI would
Kritika,
have... Yes, sir.
Kritika, I want to intervene here.
Yes, yes, sir.
I want to formally tell everybody tomorrow's session, and otherwise also I will request all of you, those who are there in the session, to be there in all the sessions to the extent possible, to the extent you can spare your time, because all the sessions that we are having in the coming days are very enriching and very enlightening. So you will feel good if you join the sessions. And the link for joining the sessions is the same with which you have joined today. The same link will apply to all the sessions. And every day we are having sessions from 9:30 to 4. Right, so whenever you have time, you can come forward and can join. And for tomorrow's program, I can make an announcement in very brief. Tomorrow again, we will open up at 9:30 Indian time in the morning, and we have a panel discussion on women in Indian cinema. And this will be moderated by Dr. Gauri Chakravarti, who is the acting head of the School of Communication in MET University, Noida, and she is an alumnus of Film and Television Institute and a known filmmaker. And the panelists who will join the session are Professor Vinita Dhondial Bhatnagar, who is from Rajiv Gandhi Technical University, Bhopal, and Priyanka Singh, who is a cinematographer based in Mumbai. So this session will be from 9:30 to 11:30 Indian time. At 12:30 Indian time, there is another session which is on documentary production during COVID-19, challenges and opportunities. And this is again an interactive session with the students of Deakin University. And this will be moderated by Dr. Vikrant Kishore. And then the third session tomorrow will be on children's cinema. And the topic is what India and the world can learn from and contribute to each other in children's cinema. This will be from 2:30 to 4. This will be moderated by Mr. Praveen Nagda, who is Mumbai based and who has floated the world's first online children's film festival that is called Kids Cinema 2020. And the panelists in this discussion are Dr. Madhu Chopra, who is a co-founder of Purple Pebble Pictures and who incidentally is the mother of Priyanka Chopra. And then we have Mrs. Firdausa Bulbilia, who is the festival director of Nelson Mandela Children's Film Festival, South Africa. And then Ms. Pamela Besen, who is founder of this Children's Film Festival in Canada. And Mrs. Deepa Kiran, who is the founder of Story Arts Foundation, India. So this was about tomorrow's session. So that is all for the day. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for briefing about tomorrow's sessions. CIFFI would have been incomplete without the efforts and guidance of Dr. Amrish Saxena and Dr. Vikrant Kishore, festival directors, who led us constantly in organizing this festival. I would also like to extend my thanks to Festival Associate Director, Dr. Susmita Bala, Head DME Media School, and all my dear colleagues who have helped us organize this event in various capacities. I also thank the management of DME for their continuous support. I must thank all the participants who joined us for this session, and we hope to see you tomorrow. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.